I am Madi Allan and I'm a hairy pony advisor / sponsored rider, and today we're going to be doing quarter marks. So the style of quarter marks that you can decide to do can depend on your personal preference as well as your discipline. So I'm a dressage rider and we typically do hunter stripes, which you would also see in the show ring on the show hunter horses. So that's what we're going to be doing today. So you want to make sure when you get to the show that your quarter marks are one of the first things that you do, especially if your horse has a bit of a longer coat, because you do have to wet the hair before you do it. So you want to make sure that you give yourself enough time for the hair to dry before you get into the ring. So unless I'm riding a really little pony, I do always try and squeeze 4 stripes of this wider blade on all the horses. If I have a horse like this who has a bigger quarter, I can start them a little bit further back from the loins and you can have a little bit of a bigger gap. If I have a horse that has a smaller quarter, which I'll show you on next, we start quite close up to the loins and do the gaps really small so that you can squish them in there. So you want to start by wetting the hair fully down. So you want to give the area that you're going to be working in a really good drench. Make sure that it's wet all the way down to the skin. And I do give it a light mist over with the Hairy Pony quarter marker spray. I find that this starts to get the hair just a little bit tacky, so it pulls into really nice clean lines. So then I just give a mist over with the Hairy Pony quarter marker spray, and then the quarters are ready for me to start. So with a horse like this that has a bigger quarter, you don't have to worry about starting right up at the top here. So I'll generally start around here. You want to make sure that you're putting enough pressure on the comb that all of the hair is moved down. If you're only putting a light pressure in the middle of the comb, the outside edges where the hair sits out there will not get pulled down into shape. So you want to make sure that you're putting enough pressure down that all of the hair moves down with the comb. When you start, also don't worry about getting the top or the bottom lines perfectly even, because we'll do a final pass over this dorsal line here and over the bottom as well. So don't worry about lining them all up perfectly. We'll finish that at the end. So I start about here, give myself a good pressure and move down the quarter here. Go down a little bit further. So just keep moving all the way down the quarter. Go a little bit further than what you think you need to, as I say, because we can pass it at the end. Don't worry about things like this, because we will do a sweep at the end to clean it all up. You can do another pass if you find that there's any areas where the hair hasn't grabbed so much. Then, as I said, a horse with a bigger quarter, you don't have to have your gaps really small. You can make them a little bit wider apart. So I'll do this about a ½ an inch apart. Same thing again. Work my way all the way down. Try and look at your gaps in the middle as you're going. If you focus on keeping those even, they will inherently be a lot straighter. Again, next one down. And last one, we'll finish quite close to the tail. They do. Does that feel good? If you find yourself with an area like this where the stripe is a little bit uneven, if your horse moves around, you can move the hair back horizontally. So the stripe that makes the stripe is our hair facing downwards. The rest of the coat lays horizontally. So you can go and make little fix up like this and pull that bit of coat back facing horizontally to give yourself that sharper line again. If you need to do another pass, you can. It is better to try and get it in one clean line, but horses never seem to stand still when you're trying to do your quarter marks, so it is okay to go back and fix it up. Then to do the finishing pass, you want to get your horse standing up nice and square. You want to start like just under the point of their hip here. And I use this Hairy Pony brush to finish my quarter marks. This is also really good for shark's teeth. And I just do one clean sweep in a bit of a downwards facing motion like that, to just really cut the quarter marks. Now you can start a little bit lower if you're worried and work your way up higher, so that way you can give yourself enough time to do a couple passes if you want to perfect the shapes or anything there. So this is how you do your finishing pass down here to get a nice clean line to finish on your quarter markers. As you can see, the hair is quite wet, so this is why it's important to give yourself enough time for the hair to dry before you get into the ring. And I just finished with a good mist of the quarter marker spray. This does not attract the dust. It helps just to keep your quarter markers nice and crisp all day. So same thing, much smaller horse, same comb. I still want to get 4 stripes in there, so I will start quite further up on his quarters here. Good even pressure all the way down. I make my gaps a lot smaller on this kind of a horse. So my gaps are less than 1 centimeter wide, so that I can still squish those 4 stripes in there. Nice and close on the smaller horses. And same thing again to finish off. Start just at the hip point of the hip and pass down. I normally do this in a few and just work my way up so I can kind of decide what shape that I like. You just work your way up. You don't have to worry about using up too much of your stripes too quickly. Finish up here. Just cut them along the top and give yourself that nice crisp line. We'll stop.